LocID is a newer solution that's out there right now. And I think the way I would look at it is likening it to a toddler that's had a ton of sugar, right? IP addresses, which have been our bread and butter for over 26 years, is looking at bouncing around the room like a hyperactive toddler on sugar. And what LocID does is acts like the responsible adult coming into the room and keeping it into that one spot. So IP addresses are inherently volatile. Some people call it drift. I like volatile, but they move around and change location. And LocID changes the way we think about things by focusing on the location rather than the IP address.
Charlie, identity increasingly feels fragmented across platforms, volatile, as you mentioned. What's driving that fragmentation and volatility, and what does a more unified approach actually look like?
That's a really good question. So IP addresses change on the regular beat, and it's one of the core signals for many different identity solutions that are out there. What LocID is doing is bringing some stability to that chaos. We still need the IP address, especially if you think about CTV. You have to translate off of an IP, right? That's one of the core signals. But if we instead look at the location, buildings don't run around the way IP addresses do. We can bring some calmness to the noise and even then start uniting all of these many different solutions. When we think about mate, we think about cookies and other signals that are out there. If we give that stability coming through on the LocID.
Measurement and attribution are other things that also cry out for stability in a noisy world. So when it comes to those 2 points, measurement and attribution, they rely on data sets that don't always match. What are some practical ways that the industry can improve the confidence and consistency around those 2 points that need to be matched up?
I think data sets matching is one of the big sort of challenges in the market at the moment. And one of the things that I'm interested in as a position is often many people blame the IP address. It's a little bit like ad tech's sort of like the dog ate my homework kind of answer, and they blame the IP address. But actually, one of the reasons for that is because IP addresses move all the time, but it is one of those core signals. So when we think about measurement, we need to make sure that everybody's measuring the same thing at the same time with the same parameters that they're working across. Now, the IP address might be the same, but if the time frame has changed, then the information around that IP address could have changed. My IP address, and I live in London, may be very different from your IP address, and that could have moved. And then we could, unlikely, but we could swap IP addresses overall. That becomes a challenge. So if we instead stabilize the location, and then we manage the IP address changing around it, it's problem solved.
So does that focus on location also help solve other privacy issues, particularly as cookies appear to be fading somewhat over time, some as fast and slow as it and unevenly as it seems? How do you see identity solutions adapting to maintain accuracy while remaining privacy safe?
Well, I think privacy is such an important topic now, and I think everybody needs to be mindful, not just about what the law says, but also what's right? We're all consumers as well, and we need to think about that. And actually, one of the things about coming to sort of working on LocID was taking a privacy-first focus and not necessarily thinking about what the law is today, but what the law might be tomorrow. So what we're not doing is we're not looking at individual people. We're not looking at those devices and turning around and saying, that's Charlie Johnson, what are you up to? Right? We take a privacy first and we sort of anonymize from that level, create these cohorts at a location level, create that anchor, that stabilizing effect, and build out the IP address from there.
So when it comes to the kind of change that you're bringing to identity and the kind of sanity that you're attempting to bring, it still tends to require a constituency behind it. And brands, agencies, publishers, platforms, where are you seeing the biggest appetite for more stable and interoperable identity signals?
When we look at the level of sort of uptake of people thinking about this solution, I've been absolutely blown away because in my many years working in this industry, I've never seen so many different parts of the ecosystem come together and say, gosh, yes, I have that problem. I want to solve that. And it's all the way through to, I have had the pleasure of talking to brands who said, yes, this is an issue, I want to make it right. All the way through to the fact that there's a lot of good people in this space who are trying to make sure that what they're out there delivering does what it says on the tin. So one of the very interesting things is, since we're all working off of an IP address, everybody is looking to LocID, but coming at it from a different point of view. So some people do think about it from a measurement perspective. Others think about it about their own intellectual property that they sit there. They've spent a lot of money. You know, journalism is extremely important, but it's also costly. So you need to protect that information. All the way through to, I want to make sure that I am having a good user experience for somebody and that they're getting ads that are tailored to them. And I think that's really exciting. And one of the things that's been extremely exciting is for LocID, is seeing the whole ecosystem pulling together and looking at it from the many different unique challenges they have that are all underpinned by figuring out these fidgety little IP addresses.